So this is the first spring that the formal garden will look at its peak. So it was installed 2.5 years ago and replaced perennial displays of bulbs. So every season we'd do a tulip display, but then you would have 6 months of the year when the beds would be empty and fallow. So we replaced it with a seasonal garden that changes as the seasons change. So we're right at the start of spring, everything's just been cut back. And now that it's a bit warmer and it's rained a little bit, everything's starting to come up. So we're starting with the Guiams, which weren't blooming last week and suddenly are in full flight. So when we planted out the formal garden, we used things that we considered best of Tomar, rare and unusual straight species things from around the world that you wouldn't see in a regular backyard. So one of them was the Lobelia gibberella, which is gorilla habitat from Uganda. It's also really hard to find cool climate, palm-shaped things that aren't ferns. And because Tomar means fern, we have a lot of ferns all through the garden and didn't want to repeat that same motif in the formal garden. And palms don't do so well in a cool climate. So we were looking for species that do well, that are palmate, that like a cool climate, that are interesting and unusual. And that's where the Lobelia gibberellas came in. The other thing that is very good at this time of year is the wisteria, which is a pea family, Fabaceae, and it takes a lot of training to get it exactly right, because you need to have like the same amount of nodes every time you trim it so that you have like the biggest, fattest buds possible. But we have one horticulturalist who just is obsessed with wisteria. He is the wisteria wizard and he does the wisteria on the deck as well. And he just keeps this in impeccable shape, and give that a week, and that and the one on the deck will be just perfect. So this is Tuna sinensis, flamingo cultivar, shockingly, and it's a Chinese tuna. It's a cedar, it's often called a cedar, and it in early spring, just before the Labor Day long weekend, flushes out with the new pink growth, and the pink growth probably lasts like 3 or 4 weeks and then it goes green, but when it's pink it's edible and it tastes like onion. Let me choose a new one. Yeah, it's actually really oniony. This is Waratah Shady Lady. It's a cross between Tilapia speciosissima, which is the New South Wales state emblem, and Tilapia oreades, which is a Gippsland Waratah. So it's one of the best ones to grow. It grows the best in containers, in full sun. Usually a Waratah loves really deep sandy soil, but this one does really well and flowers prolifically in a range of circumstances. So it's definitely the one that people ask what Waratah to grow, and that's the one that we suggest. Just hundreds of flowers. This time of year is very much all about the start of rhodos throughout the formal garden and the brunette, and then the rhododendron species, of course. That's a classically beautiful rhododendron. They often have the little spots inside their flower, which I'm pretty sure are a guide for bees to come in. I'm pretty sure this one, Triomphe de Grande, came from Rhododendron ponticum, which is a very successful rhodo. The straight species itself is almost a weed here. And Rhododendron ponticum is the one that they make mad honey from. So when bees feed from Rhododendron ponticum, they get a particular toxin from it, and then the honey that they make is meant to send you mad. So apparently the Persians would leave pots of the mad honey on the side of the road where they knew their Roman enemies were going to go, and then the Romans would eat it and go crazy, and then they could come in and slay them. So beautiful and deadly. This is starting to come out as well. This is the staff's favourite protea. This is Protea aurea subspecies potbirdgensis, which is only found in a really small area in the Potbird Mountains in South Africa. And its flower looks like, I imagine, like a little ballerina's skirt upside down. But it starts as these adorable little buds and then they splay out. So that's the #1 favourite plant of this area of the horticulturalists in the garden. There's European and Asian lilacs. The Syringa vulgaris are European and into Asia, and I'm under the impression that they are called syringa for their hollow stems, which means like needle, syringa, syringe, but they just are the best smelling thing that I think ever comes out in the whole garden. Smell them, get in there. In Celtic lore, they were meant to signify that there was a boundary between here and a fairy world that you could cross, and that smell was wafting from another land into the realm of humans, which, if you could smell it, absolutely seems right. And the metasequoias are leafing up. So they're another one of there's plants that are living fossils, and Wollomais are living fossils, so they were only ever seen in the fossil record, and then the dawn redwoods were found in a temple, and they were thought to have been extinct for thousands, millions of years, and then they found these huge deciduous conifers, and there are only a handful of deciduous conifers in the world, and the dawn redwood is one of them. So now they're putting all their needles back on, but in the autumn they're a russet orange before they're naked for the winter. So this is the start of our Puya alpestris subspecies Zoelnerai spike coming up. They're from the Paramo region in South America, so they are used to being watered by clouds in the Andes. And so to replicate that, we just water them heavily in winter. And when you do that, you get flower spikes on them. So now is the time when we start counting the spikes and sort of taking bets on how many we're going to get this year. These are the chunkiest ones that we have so far. So we'll definitely keep an eye on them and come and visit them as they grow. But this has been really fun, and thank you for wandering around the garden with me and listening to my stories.